Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we are a little short of guests. We had several of our panel members, real life stepped in, some family things that had to be taken care of. So Daniel McGee and Infinite Umbra will be back next week as scheduled. We do have a third jumping in to talk about the hot button topics, and Kay Asante will be joining us around 12:30, give or take. Listen, we have a lot to get into. Now, granted, there has been some very, very early breaking news regarding some ABK stuff that's being reported on reported by FOSS Patents. And as great as the conversation is going to be, that conversation is not going to happen today because I've been out with Mrs. Boom all morning. I got a chance to only glimpse over them, and I have to do the show notes correctly. So tomorrow evening's primetime gaming, we're going to be talking about it. I'm going to see if I can get a couple of big-time guests in there to discuss it. But ultimately, it appears that Jim Ryan and PlayStation, well, the jig is up because all of the lying, all of the crying has been answered with legit written into law situations where it would keep Microsoft honest and do something that, when I say honest, you're certainly not talking about PlayStation. We'll get into that, but today we have a lot of great topics to get into. One of which, and I really wish Mav was here for this. Also, Pong Soul, the Diablo 4 conundrum. This is going to be a
Depends on who you ask if it's a conundrum. I would have loved some backup by Matt.
Yeah, it is. We're going to get into Mrs. Boom and I played for over 3 hours, and we hated it. We'll explain why. Yeah, we did. We hated it. Yeah, it's just we could not get into it. I will break down why. And it's funny because it's one of those things, Retri. You look on social media and you see the likes of Jez Corden, good friend of this program, of Windows Central, giving it the high praise, calling it Game of the Year. Pong Soul out there, singing its praise. Matt from Fun Speculation. I mean, everyone that's anyone is just out there talking up this game. And Mrs. Boom and I played for 3.5 hours. We got up to level 8, and I looked at her and she looked at me, and we're like, let's just go back to Baldur's Gate 2 because this sucks. And I'm going to break down why it sucks. But before we get into that, we're going to be talking about some Banjo Kazooie news. Very, very exciting. Warms this old man's heart. And it's definitely going to throw some shade onto those Nintendites, if you will, because Mario and Luigi did not come in first place. But we will talk about that. Retri, brother, listen, Game Pass Daily, you have your hands been pretty busy recently, and it's only going to get even more busier as the months close in. We're going to get to April, a lot of games. May, obviously, the big one is Redfall, and that story trailer was amazing.
Yes, it was.
How are you, brother? Welcome.
I'm doing great, Boom. Happy to be here, representing. Pooey on those guys who didn't show up. I don't know what's going on with you. I'm just kidding. So I'm excited. I'm glad we're talking Diablo because we are. This is what's good about shows like this, right? Is Boom is over here, and we could not be further apart on this Diablo thing. So I'm happy to talk about that. Happy to talk about Banjo. I know that excites you a lot, so I'm sure you're psyched about that. So I'm happy to be here and talk about these topics and Game Pass 2023, guys. I've been saying it since before this year started, and for Xbox in general, even outside of Game Pass, I think this is the best year possibly ever in Xbox's history. And we'll see, right? If Starfield and everything else hits and Redfall hits, if that becomes true, but I have a sneaking suspicion that this is Xbox's year right here. So
Yeah,
I'm
no,
excited.
I agree. I think I definitely think you're onto something. This is the year, folks. If you're an Xbox fan and you've been waiting, wait till next E3 or
Yeah.
delays because of COVID and then obviously things getting back to normal. There was still some delays. Things got pushed out further. 2022 was not a really great year for Xbox. I mean, granted, they had amazing Xbox Game Pass editions. There's no one's going to deny that at all.
Right.
But first party kind of, took a bit of a back seat, and so this is going to be the year by pure default, simply because there's literally so much coming for
Yeah.
Xbox in regards to first party content, second party exclusive content, and some third party deals, as well as a bunch of indies that are going to be only on Xbox. So I mean, again, I think they win by default. I don't mean to take off any shine of how amazing this year is going to be, because the year is going to be amazing. But I
Right.
think you're onto something. But look, I want to talk.
Sheer numbers are on their side.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's
Sheer
volume,
numbers.
brother. It's
volume.
literally
It's
just
crazy volume this year.
it's literally too much
It is
to
too
mess
much.
up.
Yeah. It's too much
Really,
for my backlog is what it is. It's too much because I am not gonna be able to play everything.
I have a problem right now, folks. I have a real serious gaming problem. It's called Halo Infinite Season 3, and god damn it, I can't stop playing it. I just hit level 72 this morning, and I am absolutely in love with this. The big team battle on Oasis, where
Yeah.
it's capture the flag, it's capture the points,
Best map in years. Certainly the best BTB map I've seen in a long time.
I don't think I've had this much fun on a specific map since like Halo 3, honestly.
I love that map.
And yeah, so it's I'm having a good time with that. And Hogwarts, poor Hogwarts, man. I was playing that 4 or 5 hours a day. I'm 78% in, and it just got cut off at the ankles, brother. And it's lying on the floor.
No, you didn't finish. You didn't. You gotta finish that.
No, I'm gonna finish it. Yeah, but it's just one of those games that I could not. Once I got into Halo, it's whenever I have a spare opportunity, I'm just jumping into a big team battle match and just going ham. It's fantastic.
I hear you. That kind of happens to me with Fortnite too. Like sometimes the multiplayers pull you out of those single players, and you're like, crap. Like, you got to make sure you get back to those single players, especially Hogwarts. Finish that story. It's such a
trust me. The reason why I haven't finished it yet after a couple days worth of play is because it's so good, and I don't want to rush that. I'm really enjoying the character development. I am enjoying every side mission I come across. But let's start off with, again, this is a smaller topic because I'm an old man and I love platformers, and my love for Banjo Kazooie is like a thing.
Yeah.
The other day, the BAFTAs. Now, if there's one particular award that just jumps off the page, it's BAFTA. If you win a BAFTA, you have arrived. Well, they put out something the other day. Now, this is I'm assuming it was for fun, and they had like a March Madness kind of best duo in gaming. Ratchet and Clank was there, Mario and Luigi was there, Banjo Kazooie was there. I'm actually going to pull it up. I got to find it. I didn't have it here. I know I sent it into the DM, but the fact of the matter is this, folks. Banjo Kazooie won the title of best gaming duo ever. Okay, now that is going to have.
I'm shocked. Boom! I'm a little shocked.
It's gonna have some mileage. I will tell you that, because some people will be like, "How dare you take away my Mario and Luigi?" But you know what? The plumbers came in second. What can I tell you?
Wow.
So look. That's all fun and games, and BAFTA Games, who on Twitter announced it, they're having fun with it. I'm having fun with it, because that's what you're supposed to do on these podcasts: is have fun, talk about things that you like,
for sure.
But I have to turn it though to a bit of a more serious take on some of the decisions, Retri, that Microsoft has failed to make.
Okay.
Like for
Are
me,
we talking gun to head, make the damn game rare? I don't care what you want to make.
No. I don't want
I'm
Rare to
okay
make
with
the
that.
game. No, I don't want. You know what? That's the thing. I don't want Rare making the game. To be honest with you,
Because if they don't
too,
want to, then the passion ain't there, right? So
right. I mean, there's a couple of things. One, I don't know if that Rare exists anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
that's
the
a good
Rare
point.
that brought Perfect Dark, the Rare that brought Banjo Kazooie, the say good game or not, grabbed by the ghoulies. That Rare does not exist anymore. Now, I'm not saying that the current Rare isn't talented. They have talent. They have more talent in their thumbnail than I do in my whole body, and that's awesome. And Sea of Thieves is a perfect example of that. Say what you want. They just celebrated a massive milestone for the game that everyone said it was going to fail, and millions and millions and millions of people continue to play the game. It is a success story that no one in the gaming media really takes the time, Retri, to give credit to Rare, because obviously,
I agree on that one.
They
games as a service that just gets continually awesome updates, and I'm not even a fan of the game. But you can't deny it's like Minecraft. I don't play Minecraft, but I'm not an idiot. I can recognize when a game is good. It's just a game that doesn't click with me. And they have backed that. They have when it first came out, that game was not great. And they have, just like Fallout 76, they backed it up and just kept working on it. And with 5 years of just awesome content, and the player count doesn't lie, right? Boom. There's your truth at the end of the day. And I agree with you. They do not get the credit they deserve for continuing to make that game just better with every DLC. So yeah, good. It's a great.
I mean,
game.
look, not for me. I've said it before. I've tried it. I'm tell you a story. I've told the story, Retro. I don't know if I told it while you were on the podcast. This is what ruined CFDs for me. I'm a single player dude because a lot of the time, the most precious thing for me is time, which I don't have, right? I stream 5 days a week.
Because it's the same problem I bet you I have.
Right. So because there's no dedicated single player, and I did play almost through the Disney one, which I thought was awesome, with Jack Sparrow. That was awesome. The fact that there's no dedicated single player story driven, which would be amazing. The fact that it still doesn't exist is again, it's just one of those things. Like, why doesn't that exist? I understand you cater to the multiplayer, but why can't you walk and chew bubble gum at the same time? That's my problem.
Yeah.
So for me, my story is I get out on one of those little stupid boats. I find an island. I get a couple of treasure chests, and I'm like, this is awesome. I fought some skeletons. I had some, I don't know if they were scorpions or snakes that tried to eat me. It was fine. I lived. I come back, and I'm like, I'm really digging this. And I get to the dock, and I take off treasure chest 1 and 2, and I carry the third one. I'm like walking all by, proud that I did this. And then 4 mother, father, sister, brothers jump out of nowhere and jump me, beat me down, and take my shit. So I was like, you know what?
That's the answer I was waiting for. That's my particular issue with that game.
Let me know in the chat if that's happened to you. Have you been jumped like you were in grade school in Sea of Thieves? Let us know.
Like Bloods versus Crips up in here. Be like, oh, there he is. Let's go beat him up.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's kind of a thing. I think it might be maybe an older guy thing too. There's the whole respect my time thing. And when you work your ass off and you do all these things and they can just take it away and steal it from you, I kind of wish you could just shut that off somehow. And I know that's probably an impossibility to do on on an always online gas game, but yeah, that whole premise kind of made me go.
Shout out to Don Sekiro in the chat. He says that's life, Boom. Well, you know what? It's not my life. Right. Maybe Don was one of those people that jumped me. I don't know. I can't say for sure. Don, was that you?
Don's like, sometimes you get jumped. It happens. But you know what? We're talking video games, and this is fantasy world, and I don't want to get jumped in my fantasy world.
I don't want to get jumped. I don't want to work 3 hours to get 3 chests and then have them taken away from me in 5 seconds. I just don't want to live that kind of life. I'm sorry. And Ohio State 614 is like, yeah, it happens in the Division Dark Zone. Yeah, it does. And I gotta tell you, the Dark Zone is one of those situations. If you've never played the Division, what are you doing? I don't understand it. You're crazy. I am gonna say here's a freaking awesome Division story. My brother Neo Mental and I, this is Division 1. We're like, we need this particular achievement because we had to go to all the zones where you shoot the flare and get evacuated out of there. And I think we were missing one, right? And we were on our way there, and we had a ton of loot. Like, we were like, dude, if we die, we're dead because I'm gonna be pissed. I had all kinds of loot, and him too. So we're rolling, and we're kind of creeping because we realize that if we die, then we're finished because they're gonna steal all our stuff. And then we came across these 4 dudes that wanted our stuff, right? They wanted to rob us. I was like, dude, I think it's over. We bit off more than we can chew. And here is the amazing part of the story, and just goes to show that humanity does exist. Out of nowhere, a team of 4 other dudes see us pinned down. They come running over. They wipe out the crew that's trying to take our stuff, and they all do the salute and just take off into the sunset. I said, Dan, are you serious? Did this just happen? I wish I would have recorded this. This was something out of a freaking movie.
Real life heroes right there.
Yeah, man. It was awesome. But listen, I pulled up the story. This comes the way of let me make sure I get the website. Thegamer.com. The BAFTA names Banjo Kazooie the best gaming duo. Now it gets they say that the vote's in. Meet the best ever duo in gaming as voted by you, the people, Banjo Kazooie. So this wasn't just based on the BAFTA. The people actually voted for this. And the story goes on to say, Banjo Kazooie has been named the best ever gaming duo by the British Academy of Film and Television and Arts, as voted by the fans and followers. The duo beat out some of the toughest competition, including Gordon Freeman and Alex Vance from Half-Life 2, Link and Zelda from Breath of the Wild, and Master Chief and Cortana from Halo. And I think that this is awesome. So now I kind of want to really twist this a little bit here, Retri, because if there's one thing that you have to credit both Nintendo and Sony for doing is looking at classic games from their back catalog and bringing them back in a way that represents the character in the best light possible. Now, for Microsoft, we don't really have that. And you can't even say Halo, because as much as I give Halo Infinite, and I still stand by this, folks, single player, 10 out of 10. Multiplayer, 10 out of 10. If I could give it an 11 right now, I'd give it an 11 out of 10, because that's how incredible it is. But we don't know what's going to happen with Fable. We don't know what's going to happen with Perfect Dark. I know that they're going to be amazing, different new takes on old school characters, and that's what I want. But at some point, when does the Banjo Kazooie conversation become a reality? Like, we're in 2023, folks, and you look at Nintendo, and they could turn around and they could bring a game like Mario Kart 8, slap a deluxe on it from the Wii U, which was a shit system at best, right? And it's literally the best selling game on the Switch. right? But one of the best looking games on the Switch. I may not run at 60 frames per second, and I wish it did, but when you look at that game is gorgeous. Banjo Kazooie is an icon, and I gotta go to the chat real quick because someone had actually put something in here where you know what? Let me go to the start. Hold on just a second because they actually said something, and I want to make sure that I shout them out because I didn't even know this. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, Daniel Jackson. Well, actually, one of the first people to drop a comment in the chat this morning says Banjo Kazooie's 25th anniversary is this year. See, I didn't even know that, and I'm a huge fan. I'm hoping for anything other than a Sea of Thieves content from Banjo franchise, please, Xbox. And listen, I get it. I get it. Maybe platformers aren't your thing, folks. You know, first of all, we got 300 people here. Big shout out to you because we're only a couple of minutes in, and I definitely appreciate that the numbers are going up on a regular basis. I understand that maybe platformers, you outgrew them. You're more of a shooter guy or gal. Oh, okay. You know, that's fine. You want more, Last of Us type of games, and I want that as well. But there's something to be said about some subgenres that are currently from first party missing from Xbox Game Pass. And one of which is fighters. I'm not going to get into that. There's certainly space for a kiddie racer with Xbox characters. I'm not going to go down that path. But there's also something about platformers. And I understand that, Microsoft wants to give this to someone that wants to do it, but you're Microsoft and you're Xbox. And sometimes you got to drop a bag. And I understand that maybe a couple of, like last year, maybe there were plans to bring in someone to do a Banjo Kazooie. And when they said, hey, we're going to buy ABK Toys for Bob, has actually publicly said, not since the merger announcement, but well before, they would love to do a Banjo Kazooie game. So maybe that's what they're waiting for. And of course, that would be amazing because Toys for Bob is a great designer. I mean, they make Spyro, they make Crash. The pedigree is there. But at what point do they continue to put their heads in the sand, Retri? Like, I'm just curious to get your opinion on that.
I think you basically just stole my answer. I think the answer, the person in chat saying it's the 25th anniversary. I mean, if you want good PR and you want everything to come together, I think Toys for Bob, the ABK acquisition coming through and a 25th anniversary is a damn good trifecta of PR news that you can, say at the possibly maybe holiday of this year, or maybe, who knows, maybe like probably not E3. That might be too soon just because the ABK merger might still be going on. But I think it makes sense for Toys for Bob to make a Banjo because they want to make because they want to make the game and they've already made similar games just like it. So I agree with you. Like, what is Xbox doing? Like, what are they doing with their back catalog that's just sitting there dormant? I don't know, Boom. Like, I don't know what the heck they're doing. They're collecting studios left and right. So maybe after the ABK deal, Toys for Bob or any of the other major studios in the ABK company can step up and start making some of these games. I think I don't think platformers are going anywhere. I think I know like it's huge in the indie scene. It's absolutely massive for indies. For me, like Ori and the Blind Forest is probably my favorite platformer, maybe of all time. And like we're gonna talk about later, like games that didn't hit, surprisingly, like Psychonauts 2 didn't hit for me. So you never know. And I love platformers too. I'm like you, but some things hit, some things will miss. But I think Toys for Bob is the answer. And if we don't hear anything in the next year and a half, then I'm not sure it is going to happen. Because I think the merger is going to go through. I think ABK deal is absolutely happening. And if you have someone like Toys for Bob that's interested in bringing up obviously extremely popular platformer back, then why the heck wouldn't you try to capitalize on that excitement in the same year, or at least announce it? I don't care. Do what you did with Fable. You know what I mean? Like, who knows when the heck we're getting Fable, but that was announced years ago. So do the same thing for Banjo and Kazooie. At least give us the roadmap of what's coming for a great platformer from what will hopefully be Microsoft Studios in the future. So I got faith. I think it will come eventually. I just when is the big question, right? Like, is it ever going to happen?
I mean, that's a great question. You know what? I do want to just continue this conversation because it's a conversation that a lot of places aren't having. Like, I love giving the flowers to Microsoft, and I don't like being negative. Everyone that follows the channel knows, but sometimes I like asking the questions in a politically correct, polite way without trying to throw anyone under a bus, because throwing people under the bus is just not something we do here. There is something, Retri, to be said about not looking into your back catalog and doing new work with old things. Nintendo does it to great succession all the time, right? PlayStation does it to great succession. And again, sometimes they take risks on things, and sometimes they drop the ball. Like, there's no new Twisted Metal. Why? There's no Resistance Fall of Man remake or remaster being made. Like, why? I mean, there's no SOCOM. I mean, like, what the F are we waiting for? So they don't do it right all the time, but they have respected some of their older IPs, and they have brought some things back. And like I said, I love Microsoft. It's my favorite platform. Everyone knows that. I just want to see them do a little bit more. And they do have a lot of studios. And again, I've said this, and I'm not going to go all the way fully down the path. But there is something to be said about stuff that seems overly obvious, and why, and the giant why is hanging over my head,
right?
In a comic bubble. You have the two greatest racing developers in gaming. Polyphony is a shell of its former self, makers of Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo 7 is an abomination compared to what should have been delivered. Okay? Now, maybe they have patched it. Maybe they have fixed it since launch. But launch was a disaster. Okay? That game should not have looked or played like that at launch. I'm sorry. Okay? You've been in big businesses before? I mean, you've gotten inter office mail. What about? And again, I'm just throwing this out there because this could be a gas game, literally written for the $1 trillion company. I get no credit for it. I get nothing. I don't even get a mention in the credits. You take 10 of your best characters, and you say, you storyboard this thing, and then you send out an inter-office email to these two studios. Hey, listen, we're looking for a small team to do a passion project in a kart racing format. And I'm telling you right now, there has got to be people on these teams, Retri, that were inspired to get into racing because of Mario Kart or because of the different kart races you saw on Nintendo back in the days, Diddy Kong Racing. Now, I'm sure that Gran Turismo and Project Gotham are two titles that someone on this team may say, yeah, those inspired me to get into game development because I love racing so much. But if you put a team together of, I don't know, 20 people, the 20 ultra talented people from these two studios that were working on this car race, this kart game that starts off with 10 characters, make it free to play, like you did Halo, and just sell expansion passes, season passes with different new tracks. And in those new tracks, 2 new characters, each 4 tracks. And you keep doing that in succession till you have every character there. I'd buy that. You'd buy that. People in this 100%. Chat would buy it. So
I'm right there with you with the whole kart thing, like 1,000%. But I also don't want it to be a side project. I don't want it to be like something that started off like with.
No, you want this to be a AAA developed thing.
Yep, I do. 100%. I want that if they're gonna if they're gonna do something like this, I want them to go full bore. And honestly, and I know you're saying 10 characters. I think you just want it to happen so desperately. You're saying like, what's the what's the lowest barrier of entry? I could just make this happen.
I want 15 to start, but I'll take 10.
You're like, I'll take anything. I'll just give it to me.
And give me one character. I'll race around the track by myself. I don't care.
Right. I think part of the problem, Boom, is just the culture that Microsoft kind of said in their own PR, and that it's just been pushed out there, and that we're just going to let you guys do what you want to do. We don't want to step on your creative freedom. And maybe none of these guys just want to touch the old IP. Maybe they want to make the new hotness and just new IPs and not touch 20, 30-year-old games. I don't know, but maybe there needs to be a better balance. I mean, you don't have that. You're not going to have that problem at Sony or Nintendo. They're going to tell you what you're working on, right?
Yeah.
So maybe there needs to just be a little bit better balance, a little better oversight at Microsoft, saying we need you guys to make a kart racer, or we need you guys to make a Banjo and Kazooie. Everyone just voted it over Zelda, for God's sakes. Let's go. What's up, Kay?
Kay Asante in the building.
I hear Mr. BoomStick ate his Wheaties this morning. I heard him call GT an abomination. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, well, listen, you got to call it like it is, and that game is it's egregious. And let's not talk about microtransactions. It's just sorry. It was awful all around. But
yeah, the microtransaction thing was really bad. I just want to say something real quick. Thanaros said a really funny comment. It says, if Banjo comes back, I want a gritty reboot. Banjo with guns and nudity. I don't think that's going to happen, but, we can hope.
I mean, you have Conquer for that. So, I mean, if you really want to do Conquer, you know what you do? You take Conquer and you give that IP to the people that brought us High on Life. And you know what I'm saying? You let them go crazy with a Conquer game, because then, obviously you're pushing boundaries. Kay Asante, we were talking about Banjo Kazooie. It won Best Duo in Gaming from the BAFTAs did a poll, and it beat out Mario and Luigi. It beat out Zelda and Link. It beat out Gordon and Alex from Half-Life. It beat out it beat Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter. I think Nathan Drake.
My question to you, BoomStick, is how much did you pay these people to pad those numbers?
I didn't even know this was happening, so I'm going to plead the fifth on this.
Yeah. To be fair, though, the co-founder of Rare did say that he was going to lick his 25-year-old chocolate BAFTA award if Banjo won. I think that helped him a little bit.
Maybe.
Okay.
And now he's got to lick that. And
I'll put it this way: when you can beat out Master Chief and Cortana, you deserve a reboot. Again, I'm sure that right now that may be a sore spot for some people, because they're like, yeah, my Halo, it's not my Halo, whatever. But Banjo Kazooie was saying that at some point, Kay, Microsoft has to make some sort of admission that this game is happening. It seems pretty crazy that when you talk about, we're focusing on family with Minecraft and a few other IPs, that Banjo Kazooie isn't a part of it. You have kids. If there was a new Banjo Kazooie, I would imagine this is something that could be turned in from game to show very easily. Merchandising. I mean, like I said, I'm not a marketing manager by search of the truth, but I think the writing is on the wall. What are your thoughts on this, Kay?
Honestly, first and foremost, about the fact that they won that is some that I am taken aback by this information.
I never would have guessed that.
Really? Seriously? That's amazing. That is an achievement in and of itself. But what I will say to you and to our viewers, and just in general, if Microsoft deserves some smoke here, it's the fact that they have seemingly infinite resources, but every time they make a game, it needs to be crazy AAA. There are there have been more game studios that have come up in the last, I'd say, 10 years than ever before, right? As the tools have been democratized, as they've become just anyone can pick up these tools and start playing it. If you checked out our show, cheap plug, you'll know that Everborn Saga was talking about the fact that you can even use ChatGPT to build code for you in game. So as a person who wants to see it do something, you don't even have to code it. You can just tell the robot to do it for you, right? There is so many people getting into it now. My question is, why does everything have to be AAA? They bought Bethesda for $7 billion, which we all know to them is couch cushion money. That is funding for like 50 different indie projects, if not more.
Yeah.
Like, where is that, right? The Burden Bear should be on the radar. It should be almost close to being done. We saw them do similarly with the Battletoads, right? That took too long.
True.
Like, it's small budgeted stuff with small hungry teams that then maybe if you do it right, get another bite at the apple with a bigger budget and all of that.
So maybe there should be like a Shredder's Revenge would be probably like a good example of something like that.
There should be Skunkworks projects all over the place with all these IPs because they're literally in a box somewhere mentally, just sitting there collecting virtual dust, right? Like, you own these IPs. You don't have the teams to properly dedicate the time to them. Rare is like, well, we've moved on, which is fine. That's Rare's prerogative to do so, right? So that's not a problem. But for those who want more of these IPs, and for you, Xbox, who keep talking about, hey, Game Pass needs to be fed, why the heck aren't there many different bites at the apple on all of these franchises, right? As Boom keeps asking for, where is the Mario Kart game? Where is the
I literally just said
like,
that. Yes.
Where is the Unreal like kart game? Unreal like first person shooter with all of your characters. It doesn't have to be first party, right? You don't have to get Crystal Dynamic or at that high level to do it. There are many, many, many hungry teams that will do it cheap just to be able to say they built something. And it may not be the thing that hits the moon. It may not be your next, critical mass game, but it doesn't have to be, right? Most of these games, I was talking to Boom today about it. Most of the games that we're talking about that we have such a reverence for these days are games that were given a second and a third shot, right?
Yep.
The first shot wasn't the great one. The first shot usually was rough, but had a spark. And then you gave them a bigger budget, you gave them more time, and they did something that was more fantastic, right? So honestly, to me, I don't disagree. And it could be the Burden Bear, it could be Conquer. On the topic of Conquer, the actual original creator and designer of Conquer is kind of hurt on Twitter. You see him out there talking about, man, I want that back, but they seem to think that he's a character from a different time. Oh, he was a little too risque. So they as in Xbox, doesn't want to have anything to do with it anymore, right?
That's a shame. That's a shame.
I don't buy that.
It's a shame.
I don't buy Microsoft who knowingly saw High on Life and put into Game Pass would ever think that. Maybe I'm wrong, but come on.
The point of the matter is, you guys have access to so many IPs that, yes, it's true. Maybe your 23 studios or the multiple teams within your studios have bigger fish to fry. 100%, sure, not a problem. But there are teams that are still doing 2-year turnarounds. Yes, you guys have bigger ambitions, right? And your AAA God of War like games take 6 years to make. But that's not the way development is made across the board. That is the ambition that many big studios have reached, right? In the old school 360 and OG Xbox and all those days, ask how long it took to turn around an average game. They were churning out 2 games from the same studio per generation, right? Even people like Turn 10 made 2 Forzas in 1 gen.
Yeah.
Right. And they were at a AAA budget, right? So the AA and the single A and the indies, they can keep churning out things left and right, and they don't need that crazy AAA budget. They just need somebody to give them a chance. And you, Microsoft, have all the IPs, and you can throw them a couple $100,000, which is literally cents on the dollar for you, and they will come and shine because they want to prove themselves. Where are we on that? Right? That's where I completely agree with you guys on that. They have so much resources. They could be churning out so many awesome little teeny tiny games here and there, that then, the ones that hit big get a bigger budget next time, right? These are all experiments, if you will. And it feeds Game Pass. So where are they? They
Right.
should be out. There should be a lot of them coming out. That's what I'm saying.
I just want
agree
to
with that.
I just want to add something just for context, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. We're talking about Diablo 4 because there's you know what? Continue. I got to take this call, guys. Give me a second.
Oh, no worries.
Okay,
Not a problem. Not a problem. Yeah. So, I don't know, man. That has always been a problem for me with Microsoft. I feel like they hear the consumer and they hear the public, and we want the AAAs and all of that. But what was one of the greatest games that we played last year? And I'm playing a new version of it. It's now Vampire Survivor. Like,
yeah,
one dude made that.
I know.
Right? And I'm sure that one dude, it took him a long time to make it because it was one dude. But you give a small indie team a relatively decent budget, and they can turn that around in a short relative amount of time because it's not one dude anymore, right? Give them a great IP, and there you go. I just don't understand why it has to be all or nothing, because that's what the consumer base demands. It's not, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I would love to know, like, I know Hi-Fi Rush, because someone mentioned in the comments, I know Hi-Fi Rush did take 5 years. We know that for sure.
Yes.
I wonder what the budget was. I'm so curious. I'm dying to know how many people from Tango Gameworks actually worked on Hi-Fi Rush. I don't know if anyone knows those numbers yet. I don't think I've seen them. But I agree with you, Kay. Like, I'm hoping after ABK's actually over with, I have a series, long list of indie developers, very small teams, 40 and below, that I think Microsoft should just start acquiring, because like you said, you need to feed Game Pass, right? So you need a better cadence of these games coming out at a quicker pace. And what better to have just a crap ton of smaller teams that can push out a game in 2 to 3 years. Like you said, you give them the resources, you give them the money, and you have a guy like that was all by himself on Vampire Survivors, and all of a sudden he's not by himself. Right?
Yeah.
He's got a budget, and he's got a team now, so he can push that game out even quicker. And I think Vampire Survivors was a great point to make of a game that just kind of took a lot of people by storm, because it's a game I wouldn't have touched if it wasn't for podcasters and Boom. And I was just like, this game looks stupid, and I loved it. It looks so dumb to me. I'm not gonna like this.
To me,
it.
You don't have to acquire them. You're
right.
Own the IP.
You are right.
Right? It can be one of those Xbox, what do they call them? The Xbox studio deals, the second party deals, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to acquire them. You can allow them to be free.
You're right.
But they're hungry. They're trying to get off the ground. There are many studios that literally just got out of college, want to show what they can do, right? Many studios. And you have Unreal Engine, like, making it so easy for people to punch above their weight as far as graphically and all of that. And not to be outdone, we do see them doing a little bit of that. I saw a few announcements of them empowering some, and I said that, and I saw a tear coming down my face. They partnered with a Nigerian studio, like, first AAA game, like in all remnants, it looks like a high budget AAA studio making a game straight out of Japan, right? And not to be outdone, I was actually, while I was supposed to be working, I was actually sampling Chai. I don't know if you've heard of that. TCH.
Yes.
I think is what it is.
Yeah, the art in that looks really awesome.
Awesome. It's a new team building a game from and it's based on real folklore from a small little island off the coast of New Zealand. Like, you bet that these guys probably put so much time and effort into it, and they probably didn't have a pretty big budget, so it took them a while, right? But at the end of the day, they put this small little game together. I just went through, I think I played about 45 minutes of it. It gives you the beginnings of it. Before you even start the game, it teaches you a little bit of a history of what the game is and where it's from and all of this. Really cool, interesting, eclectic stuff that didn't break the bank to make, right? But they poured their heart and soul into that thing. And hopefully it does well on PlayStation. It's day one in the premium subscription. Salute to you, PlayStation.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're
so slowly doing
it. Slowly they're turning that money.
Very slowly.
Yes. So at the end of the day, it's great to give it to big IP holders. I'm not saying don't do that. Right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't hand it over to big IP holders. There is a room for that, but there's also room for little things. I don't know if people ever saw back in the day before Halo became a dirty word. I don't know if you guys ever saw like Halo Legends. Like it was a series of short stories by various different developers.
The anime ones.
That's right. Some of them are hard anime. Others are very little different. Some
very different
allow
styles.
them to take your IP and do something different with it. Small little. It's almost like short films, right? That can happen. And when you do that, you can iterate quickly and find an awesome idea, right? Most don't know. What do you call it? One of the greatest offshoots of Halo ever, ODST. 8 months. It took them 8 months to make that game. Not
the
to
fact
say
that there's not a part 2 is a disgrace.
Not to say you want to do that because they crunched like mad and were sleeping under their bed, under their chest.
Right.
We're not saying do that, but within 8 months they were able to turn already existing assets and a different idea. And hey, here it is. And I still love that game more than most. Right. Give these guys 2 years. Give them a decent budget. You don't even have to own them. Here's Microsoft with the bag. It's what they're known for. Let us have some experimental, interesting content, including the darn bird and bear. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kay. The problem is like, I 1000% agree with you on them going out third party that they don't have to own. The problem is that they've said themselves they want to own everything. And I agree, and I don't agree with that. I do not agree with that at all.
Nope.
I think that's a huge mistake on their part. You got teams like Supergiant who made Hades with 22 people. You got Hazelight who made Game of the Year It Takes Two with 65 people. These are if they're not gonna reach out and make third party deals with these guys, then frickin' buy them all. Like, you know, I mean, get Beethoven and Dinosaur for the Artful Escape. Go get Game Science, the guy who's making Black Myth Wukong. I mean, that's a tiny indie team, and it looks triple A. You know what I mean?
That's the thing, Red Tree. For every one of those that are known, there are hundreds that are unknown. Right?
Exactly.
And you guys have infinite resources. You can go out there and introduce new teams that people would never have thought to look at because they're not in California. They're not in New York. They're not in the States. You guys have resources, means you have tentacles everywhere. They did it with the Nigerian team. I just want to see more from that.
Yeah, me too.
I agree.
Yeah. Listen, again, but sorry I had to take that. Was a very important personal call, folks. Normally it doesn't happen,
problem,
but
sir.
I had to. For context, I just want for Kay Asante, so you understand who the Bird and Bear beat out. Leon and Ashley from Resident Evil 4, Ratchet and Clank from obviously Ratchet and Clank, Mario and Luigi, Sully and Nathan Drake.
See, I'm sorry, that is suspect, man. I'm sorry.
No.
It's all about licking that trophy. I'm telling you right now.
How about this? They beat out Gears of War brothers. Dom and Marcus.
Yeah. Come on. I'm sorry, but they padded.
It is very hard.
Forgive me.
I don't buy that. I'm going to call you to the carpet with that.
BS. He's saying,
I call BS, sir.
He's calling BS. So
Mario and Luigi, like the dynamic duo. Are you kidding me?
That's the one that really has got me going. I don't know.
I'm sorry. Listen, the stats are the stats. So I just have to say that's what the BAFTAs announced. So I'm going to go with the BAFTAs on this one, folks.
And it doesn't bother you, and it doesn't matter at all that they happen to go wholeheartedly with your favorite franchise.
And they also beat out Sonic and Tails. Shout out to everyone Saga. Well, there you go.
Yikes.
Just saying,
awesome.
It's
good. It's good that people are thinking about it.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. I think it's awesome because I would have lost that.
All jokes aside, though, and again, we're gonna move on. I'm sorry that we spent so much time on this particular topic, but worries, it's what's interesting is everyone that they beat out, though, Kay and Retri, have had games even in this generation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe the fact that Banjo Kazooie has not had that is it, is why it won, because people want it so badly. But real quick, this has just come across my desk. It is in fact breaking news. Let me find it. Hold on just a sec. Where is it? For the love of Joe.
Let me guess. Is it ABK related?
No, it's actually not. Believe it or not, it's actually not. Believe it or not, yeah, it has just been announced that the Netflix adaptation of the Gears of War film is being directed by the guy that just did Dune.
Wow.
Yeah,
like the series Dune on HBO?
Yes, John.
I shouldn't say series, a movie. Ooh.
Yeah, John Spadis, Spaihts. He is the writer. He wrote the script. He did the Dune film. Let's see, and this is coming from Variety.com, folks. This is breaking news. Netflix Gears of War movie taps Dune and Doctor Strange writer John Spadis.
Wow.
That's a big deal.
That's heavy hitters right there. I really love Dune, so I'm happy to hear that.
Okay.
Yeah, the writer from Doctor Strange. Yeah. What?
Yeah, awesome. So that's he says. Let me see if this is a direct quote from him. This is direct quote from him. Gears of War is one of the all-time great action games with vivid characters and a beautifully designed world and a combat system that drives home the lethality of war and the importance of standing by your squad mates. And he said this in a statement to Variety. I want it to be cinema. I'm thrilled to have the chance to help that happen. Well, there you go. Again,
this makes me happy. This makes me very happy. It means it's not going to be taken lightly, which that franchise deserves more respect. It's being taken too lightly for too long. That's great.
And I hope it's kind of like horror-esque.
I hope it's horror. I do. I hope it's gritty. I hope it's gross. I hope there's guts.
It better be gritty. I'll tell you right now. It better be. I'm calling it. Please don't make this PG-13.
No.
Do not do that.
No.
Do not do that. Just
it's Netflix. To the wider audience. At this point, they've done some R stuff, and it should be R. Yeah. I'm sorry. Some when look, I'm probably going to get booed on my own show by this, but just look at what HBO did with The Last of Us. One of the greatest TV series I've watched in the past decade. Honestly, it's so good. And Mrs. Boom and I enjoyed it so much that we have run through the series twice.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
See, what I will say about that, though, is I think, for better or worse, that a lot of it being as good and as faithful to the original source material on that has a lot to do with Neil Druckmann being in the room.
Yes, he wrote it.
100%. 100%.
Cliffy B in the room. If you're doing this Gears, get Cliffy B in the room.
Cliffy B, and he hasn't been talked to yet. We know that. He said it. Like, what the heck are you doing? Get Cliffy B. I agree, Kay. Get him in the room at least.
I personally don't understand, considering he really is not solely, but incredibly responsible for Gears.
Yeah.
The fact that that Ferguson is no longer with the studio, right? He's doing Diablo 4. And we're gonna get to Diablo 4 right now because I'm gonna shock a lot of people. But hire that guy. Hire that guy to come in and work on your next Gears project. I don't know if there was bad blood, because I don't think there was, because he said in an ILP, no one's reached out to him, right?
Right.
So
crazy.
Listen, let me catch up on the super chats. We have 5 of them to start the show. Thank you so much for everyone that continues to help donate to the channel. Obviously, it's gonna help fund the trip to E3. So I can cover from the ground with Kay Asante a lot.
Be right back, Boom.
Yeah, it's oh yeah, go do your thing. Well, the first one of the day comes away from us, good friend of the show, Brett Bingham, drops a $2 super chat and says, everyone hiding in the bushes in Sea of Thieves. You're not lying, dude. I don't know where these people came from. They jumped me, they took my stuff, and that was it for me. I never went back again, because that's just I'm not for that life. Drawn TJ drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Sorry, Boom, but they need to buy the people that own the rights to Mech Assault and make a new one before Banjo. See, the problem with Mech Assault isn't there's Phil Spencer actually has talked about this to nauseum. Mech Assault, the game that was on the OG Xbox 1 and 2, was phenomenal. The problem, and he himself wants to bring a sequel back similar to that, but he says that there's so much gum in the chain of Mech Assault that there's so many different people that own the rights.
It would be what?
Yeah,
I came back to
here. As bad as 007.
As bad as 007.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's all twisted up in BS. Yeah, that's the game. I'm sorry. I just heard Mech Assault, and that is one of my absolute top games I want to come back.
Me too. Yeah, and so Phil Spencer too, for that matter. So thank you for the super chat, brother. Brett Pingham drops a very generous additional $5 super chat and says, "People who read the books know why there is not an ODST2.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, but see, that's the thing. I didn't read the book, so I don't know why there's not an ODST2. I will say that even though, obviously that it starred Buck, which is, obviously on Team Osiris for Halo 5, it's fine, but there is room. See, that's the thing about Halo. And again, I don't understand. If
ODST can't be done, that's fine. Give us some exploits from Command and Lock.
What about
some?
I'm going to throw a scenario out here for everyone. Right, I'm going to throw a scenario out here. Now, ODST is about a drop trooper that has to face ridiculous odds to live, and he does.
Yep.
Winds up finding his way onto Team Osiris many games later, and he's awesome, right? We still don't know what happened to Buck, by the way. We don't even know what happened to Locke, for that matter. We know that someone's wearing his helmet on a shoulder pad, but we don't know what happened to Locke. Ridiculous.
Yep.
But check this out. Now, again, I don't want to work for 343 because I'm not a writer, right? I'm just a podcaster. But I have an inkling of an idea. If you wanted to do an offset or an offshoot horror-based Halo game, this is how I would pitch it if I was sitting down with Phil Spencer right now. I would say this. Let's take this from an angle where they discover the flood and you're a scientist, right? And everything kind of like a Dead Space situation where the shit hits the fan and now you got to figure it out. You got to get the F out of Dodge, and you can do an 8, 10, 12-hour single horror-based third-person game in the Halo universe with the flood, and you're this low-level scientist that's got to find key cards. You gotta pick up a gun. Ammo is scarce. For me, that's game of the year material, folks. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
It also sounds like a really good, either anime or live action. That's what I would love to see that.
And in that world, universe. The Spartans would be the NPCs. Out of nowhere, a Spartan comes and saves your butt last minute. That'd be so cool.
Or a Spartan, gets taken over by the flood and becomes the main antagonist, and you're like, you got to get away from this now converted Spartan who is now the part of the flood. Make him the nemesis of the game.
I agree.
I'm just saying that there's.
That's for dang sure.
There are many options out there. It just seems like they're only focused on the big hitters, and in doing so, they're letting all this time pass them by.
It's too much time in between. It really is. No offense, but listen. Let me get the last super chat, and then if there's more, I'll get to it. I promise. Jonas the Dad, generous friend of the program, drops a $5 super chat and says, "Bro, Civ 6 on Xbox Game Pass, 20 plus hours played. That deal to bring all of those games in is killer. Civ is one of my all-time favorite all-time franchises. Hit the like button." Yeah, I mean, again, not for me per se, because I'm not an RTS guy unless it's Aliens versus Predator, which I have talked about before. It's one of my favorites of all time. I also like the Lord of the Rings one that was on the Xbox 360. That was pretty dope. I really enjoyed that. I beat that through and through. But listen, I want to talk about Diablo 4. This is something that I've been going back and forth with Pong Soul and Mav, who unfortunately they both couldn't be here. Retri and I are on polar opposites. Like we're gonna get his take. I'm gonna give you our take, and then Kay will jump in. Now, Kay, I don't know if you had a chance to download it or be a part of it. But listen, the buzz for this game, folks, is
ready to beat up Boom on this one. All right.
Yeah, it's on a level. It's on a level that I did not expect to see. I know Diablo is a tried and true franchise for gaming. If you are fans of Blizzard, it literally is in your DNA. I understand that. But I have to talk about it from a husband and wife point of view, which, of course, Mrs. BoomStick and I play these games together because that's the one genre that she's in all the way. I've talked about Champions of Norath 1 and 2 on the PlayStation 2. I talked about Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the interplay ones, not the PC ones. They last year they brought Baldur's Gate 1. They HD'd it and Baldur's Gate 2. As a matter of fact, Mrs. Boom and I are literally going through our 4th run on Baldur's Gate 2, and we're beating it on every difficulty level because we want to get all the achievements. And we for three hours a night we're playing it. We love it. It's become like our Animal Crossing, which we play every day. And we do that together. It's what we do. So we played through Diablo 3 on the 360, beat it, played through it on the Xbox One, beat it, and then started a second run through it because we like these types of games. So we hear that Diablo 4 is having a beta, and I even reached out to Sarah Bond, who responded back, which is pretty cool. She had put out a tweet about her dad is going to be playing this all weekend because her dad's a big fan of Diablo. And I said, FOMO has set in for Mr. and Mrs. BoomStick. I greenlit the I pre-ordered the $100 edition, and I wasn't sorry that I did until I played the game, and that's where I realized I didn't understand what was going on. Mrs. Boom and I, for context, played for 3.5 hours. I have 2 hours of it recorded, which you'll never watch because I don't like the game.
So at least showed it, Boom. By the way, you were paused on.
You were paused on your video. Yes.
Let's. Oh, okay. So let me just. I'm sorry. Let me just put in the other footage, which is not, by the way. Sorry that it's just not. It's not. So here's the thing. I hated with loathe Diablo 2. I bought it. I was like, this is nothing like Diablo 3. What? I just wasted money. So it's sitting there, and it's deleted off the hard drive. I wasted $30. I got it on sale. And I was like, okay, well, they're not going to go back to Diablo 2 style. And then I'm playing the game, and I'm like, this plays nothing like. Now, granted, there's a lot of things to really like about Diablo 4. I mean, a lot. The character models, wow, they're incredible. The CGI for the in between stuff, amazing. But when you talk about, first of all, why on my 65-inch HD everything TV, full on bells and whistles, do the characters look the size of M&Ms? When the camera goes all the way back to outer space. Like, I don't understand that. And again, I understand it's that type of game, but I'm playing Baldur's Gate. I could turn the camera. The graphics look pretty good for an old game. We're enjoying ourselves. The inventory system seems pretty, it's decent. It doesn't really beat you over the head. You can make your own weapons. It's wonderful. So we are used to playing Diablo 3. And they had, like, if you remember, the characters, it was a bit of a closer camera, which is fine. Some people said the graphics were a little too cartoony. Not for us because we don't mind, right?
It's
we
multiple people keep saying that to me too.
Yeah, we played through Gauntlet Legends, which we beat all of them on the N64, and we loved those. And those were like horrible graphics, right? So we're used to Diablo 3, and then we look at this. There's no reticle. You know what I'm saying? The inventory system is it's confusing. It is when you have two people on the screen trying to figure out what's going on. It's a mess. And speaking of a mess on the screen, there's no way. At least I don't know, because I really played it and I was like, I'm really not enjoying this. The stuff on the screen, like your health and everything, is so big in the corners. Like, if they should give you an option to be able to shrink that, because it takes up so much space, and there's no turning of the camera where it's just the one view. I'll put it to this way: I canceled my pre-order. If it comes in the Game Pass, folks, I will. We have already said. I talked to Mrs. Boom this morning, as a matter of fact, and I said, listen, we got to give this a second chance. She goes, I'll try it, because I don't know. And I said, okay, that's fair. If it comes in the Game Pass, we can mess with it. Maybe there's some options that we didn't see because it's the beta. Maybe not everything was available. But I am definitely, folks, on an island. Well, we, Mrs. Boomstick and I, are definitely on an island by ourselves, because a lot of people like Jez Corden and Pong Soul and Retri here have a lot of great things to say about it.
Big Mad Mo in the chat is saying, "Boo this man!" Boo.
I know it. It's okay, Mad Mo. I love you, brother. It's okay. It's fine. And I see so many people like, can you go past level 20? And I want to keep playing. Mr. Badbit is crying because they took it away. The beta's away from Mr. Badbit. He's crying. I think for us, the reversal from 3, bringing it more closer to 2, is what turned us off. Retri, what am I getting wrong here? Everything. I don't say everything.
Everything, bro. everything. Listen, I never thought opinions could be wrong, but here we are. I can't disagree with you any harder.
That's good. This is great conversation.
This is what, right? I'm kind of, like I said to you in the green room, I'm actually very shocked that
We're shocked
that it didn't hit for you. But like we said, not every game is for every gamer, right? I love platformers. Wasn't a fan of Psychonauts 2. It's crazy to me. It kind of blows my own mind that I didn't absolutely love that game. So it happens, right? But to me, as I was playing Diablo 2, and maybe this is why, because I haven't played 3 yet. I was about to play 3, and then the beta dropped for 4, and my mind is actually blown. Like someone mentioned in the chat, the UI, at least in that aspect, it looks like a copy and paste from the mobile version. A lot of people have an issue with that. I actually liked the UI. I thought it was actually, to me, less confusing than Diablo 2. I'm a little, like, I can't see very well, so I usually scoot up to my television. So I like having the text larger, and they changed the font of the text in Diablo 4 from all the previous games, so you can read it easier. That to me actually is a small life improvement in my opinion. I do agree, with the inventory itself, they need some sorting. They need to do some sorting in the inventory. I think that's a big mistake. I don't know if that's something they just left out of the demo or if that's coming.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because my wife actually made mention, when we would sell stuff, right?
You can't even sell all. That's a huge mistake. There's the options. Right.
It would be all over the place. It would be all over the place. And normally, you can press the button, hold it, and you move it. To set it up. Again, it's a little thing, and I'm sure that they'll fix. The game doesn't come out to June.
I think that's just a mistake, because there's an option to salvage all, but there is no option to sell all. I literally think that's just coming in an update. It doesn't. Yeah. It literally makes zero sense for that not to be there. But the inventory itself, just being able to I like to just be able to sort by rare items or legendary items, you should be able to do that, I think, in 2023 in this game. Hopefully that's coming, because I know a lot of people are complaining about that. But let me start off with the good stuff. And that is, to me, the story. Holy crap. Like, I didn't even know what the stories of Diablo are until now. Now I do. These cinematics are from Blizzard.
They're like movies.
Are
they are like
absolutely effing amazing. I was completely blown away. Now I'm playing like on a 4K OLED, the LG C2. I got a really nice television, and it looked beautiful, and it sounded beautiful, and it's probably some of the best cinematics I've ever seen in gaming, period. And it actually has me interested in a Diablo story, which has never happened. I don't care. I never cared into when I played it back in the day, and the new version, the updated version, about the story. And this has got me hooked. And I like going from these cinematics into the gameplay. I think the gameplay
they do it seamlessly, though. They do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's done really good.
It's very seamless. And I read the article from Jez, and I mean, everything he said kind of hit for me. I agree with almost every point that he said. The gameplay in this is the best it's ever been. There is an option, Boom, that you can zoom in to your character as well. That's not going to fix the UI on the left and stuff, which I actually like that it's big, because I just can't see very well. So
no, that makes sense.
I like those things a little bit bigger. But I understand that a lot of people, it's too much going on the screen. But I gotta say, like, the gameplay itself for me was just a lot of fun. All that I picked Sorcerer. I don't know who you picked. Maybe that's part of the reason.
I picked the Barbarian. Mrs. Boom always goes with a Sorcerer, and she doesn't pick the females, believe it or not. She always goes with picking the guys. And she had like this whip arrow thing that she was doing. And I mean, like, for instance, and FYI, we played for about 3.5 hours. We got to level 8, each of us. We did one of those randomly generated missions where we found the person hiding underneath their wagon. They had to be saved. And if you have to kill enough of the demons that are popping up. It's almost like like when Destiny did it, where everyone would just kind of jump in. It would be a lot of bad guys, and you had to make it to the end. We did that as well. So we played through it enough to know that we didn't like it. But to be fair, it is a beta. There were some things, especially, like I said, I would
getting
imagine,
into the game was a nightmare.
Yeah, it was pretty
first
bad.
Day.
Yeah, it was
first day at least.
Look, it was 90 minutes. The counter. I'm like, we're not waiting 90 minutes. So we came back, and we wound up coming. We started the next morning, and I think we waited like a minute. It was much better.
It was night and day. That I was probably a minute, 2 minutes tops the very next day. And there was also the problem is even if you waited those 90 minutes, you got kicked. Almost guaranteed you were going to get kicked from the game eventually. And then you get another 80 minits or so that you would have to wait. So
I'm glad we didn't do that.
Yeah. There was definitely some server side issues. I don't understand how it was this bad, since this was based mostly off of pre-orders. So you knew the number of people that were coming in, plus maybe an extra 10% from people like me, who got the KFC chicken sandwich, and that's how I ended up getting my code.
I love it
because I'm cheap, and I'm waiting for it. Listen, I'm like Umbra. I'm like some of these other people. We cheap. We cheap over here in this house, so I don't care. I got that chicken sandwich.
It's coming into Game Pass.
I got my code, and it's probably going to come into Game Pass.
Yeah.
I believe it, so I'm going to save myself $70. But between the cinematics, the gameplay, I don't know. I was actually having a tough time finding issues with this game. So it's so weird to me. A lot of people, and I'm not saying you're one of these people, because I saw some other videos like it's Alex and stuff.
Some people did hate videos just for clicks, dude. Like let's call it is. I saw a lot of unnecessary. Like, I think it was Jez Corden that said that he made a mistake and went to Reddit. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't Jez Corden. It was Ains from
Ains said that.
Yeah, Ains said on Twitter
Season Gaming.
Gaming. Yeah, good friend of this program, Ains.
I did see that.
Said that he said I made the mistake of going to Reddit to see what people were saying about the beta. and he goes, I don't even know why I bothered. Like people were just hating on it just to hate on it.
I kind of agree with Ains on that. I felt like there was just some of the discussion around it. I think the Diablo community is a lot like the Halo community. Like you do anything even slightly in the wrong direction to these guys, and they will roast you up and down the internet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of passionate people out there, which is fine. You know, just got to find the right way to say those things to developers. Because if you're just being an a-hole, they're not listening. You know what I mean? But I think there was a lot of nitpicky stuff, specifically about the UI and just the game in general, that I thought was a little unfair. And maybe I'm just coming off of a high of playing the game, but I loved it through and through. I played, like I said, I played as a sorceress, so I made a girl.
Nice.
And she was awesome and powerful. I'm a big fan of Elemental.
The character customization, Retri, is freaking some of the best I've ever seen.
I agree. Here's a perfect example of how awesome that is to someone like me who's been into movies and content creation. I made my character's eyes white so they would look cool and they would kind of like show up. In the freaking cinematic in the beginning, she's like in the woods with werewolves and stuff. Her eyes are glowing in my cinematic because I changed her color. I like that's those little things like that that I'm like, oh my God, and I changed the color of her eyes to see if it would change, and it did. And I was like, yes. Now I did notice there was like my girl had horns on her head, and it was not in the cinematic. So there are some things that still obviously are not working. They're not coming through all the way. Like she had all the getup except for her hat or whatever that it had, her horn hat, wasn't in the cinematic. So that didn't work for some reason. I found some hiccups in the game, but honestly, it was pretty dang smooth playing it. So I'm curious to see if Kay, were you able to try the beta out at all? What are your thoughts?
So this is super interesting to me. And yes, you'll probably lose a bunch of subs because of this whole thing. No, okay. So first and foremost, I never played Diablo 2. Actually, as we are speaking right now, I'm hitting the buy button on Diablo 2 on Xbox because I want to play Diablo 2. I'm usually, these are the kind of games I like to play on PC, but I'm not buying it on Battle.net. Screw that. So I'm playing it on Xbox. So I will play Diablo 2. I have played the hell out of Diablo 3 on multiple platforms, on PlayStation, on Xbox, even on PC.
I haven't played it on Switch. 3.
Yeah, I don't want to see the muddy, teeny tiny textures of the ABK.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
But so it seems to me that this is a preference thing of depending on if you are a big Diablo 2 guy, you might like this, and if you're a big Diablo 3 guy, you might not. And I'm a big Diablo 3 guy, but I never played 2. Okay, now I did play a bunch of Diablo Immortal. Okay, the mobile game, and I played that Diablo Immortal game on PC. Okay, so the reason why I did that is because I initially started playing. I heard about it, free to play. I know it's got a bunch of the ridiculous gotcha stuff on it, but I just wanted to see what they've been working on for so long because my assumption was that would be the base of the engine that they would use to make Diablo 4, right? So I just wanted to sample it. And on PC, you could definitely tell that, okay, this is how they're going. This is the basis of the Diablo 4 proper. I didn't play too long because, it is got that gotcha stuff in it.
Yeah.
It is a mobile game at its heart. But the graphics were excellent. I mean, you could scale it. It scales down to mobile platforms. But like graphically, it was like, oh, man, that's amazing, right?
Right.
Because the monkey that is on my back that is known as Hogwarts has eaten my life for so long. When this whole thing happened, I'm like, am I going to stop playing this and go play that for the next 3 days? Probably not. So I didn't play the new one. But like the rest of you guys, I've heard all the ridiculous glowing reviews of the thing. I watched shout out
all
to
deserved.
Him, the Wandering. I watched the Wandering Dutch play the opening cinematic with the gruesomeness that is what I was just like, yo, this is amazing, right?
Yep.
And hearing what you're saying now, one thing I will offer up there, Boom. Much like all the other Diablos, it seems that specifically with this franchise, it seems that those who play it late benefit the most because at the beginning of every Diablo, there's a lot of not bugs necessarily, but balancing issues, things that need to be added, things that need to be removed. You know, Diablo 3 had the auction house debacle that was huge for a while before they got rid of it, right? But now if you play Diablo 3, it's awesome, right? I suspect that probably a lot of your nitpicks will be sorted out by the time this thing hits retail and has had a chance to have a patch or two applied. I think that may be because everything you're describing so far, Boom, sounds like it's a quality of life issues you don't like. Why is this thing so big? Why can't it be made smaller? Why is it that you can't sell everything? You have to sell it individually. I feel like those are kind of growing pains issues, right? Unless the fundamentals of Diablo 2 being basically the remake here, which is, and everybody has said it, that's the basis of this game. They didn't take from 3, they took more from 2. Unless you're just like a non-Diablo 2 guy, in which case there's no helping it. But I think it's super interesting to be an outlier in this space sometimes, to be like, look, man, everybody loves it, and I'm just gonna be here on my hill and we'll die alone and say I really dislike it. I will tell you, like, the reason why I stopped playing Diablo Immortal is because I knew I was gonna love that game and I didn't want to spend that much time in the mobile version. Right? I wanted to play the proper version. Because there was no way they were building a separate engine for the mobile version as they are building for the actual Diablo 4 proper. So it looks like they were scaling Diablo 4's engine down to hit mobile. So when I played it, and then I played it on a PC and I cranked it up, and it was just like amazing. I've seen a few folks playing it, and like they made custom creators. And if you know me, you know the first thing I'm going to say, yeah, the dreads look good, man. The dreads look good. They look like they really spent time, and it's a limited customer creator, right? It's not everything everywhere. You can't do whatever you want, but the offerings they provide you look excellent, like really authentic and clean looking. Even though, as Boom says, as soon as you're ready to play, you look like a Tic Tac on the screen. But still, and that's what's impressive about it, right? It's a game where by and large most of the characters are teeny tiny on the screen, but if you zoom in, the detail is outstanding. Like,
actually, Psychonauts in the chat
to do it
said you can zoom in by pushing up on the directional pad. See, again, it wasn't
in the chat section. It's weird. It's in a weird area, like where you can chat and say hello to people. It's in that, and it'll zoom into your character, like probably like 30 or 40% into the screen, so you can see your character a lot better. But then the downside of it is you don't get that wide view where you can kind of see the enemies coming from a further from further away. But it's also a quality of life thing, because when you put all this gear on yourself, you want to see yourself besides hitting the pause menu, right? And it's a nice way to kind of see, like, in game what your powers look like, your fire, ice, and all that stuff. I think it was a good idea.
But Boom, do not feel bad. You can be out on that island by yourself. Let me fill you on a little secret here. Resident Evil 4 Remake is getting perfect 10s across the board. I am not interested.
Yeah, I mean, listen, not every game is for every gamer, right? I mean, did you play? You play the original?
I have the original. I've played the original. I've played it so many times. I'm just like, this looks great. It looks graphically awesome. But for a remake of a game that we've all played through and through, and it looks like it's exactly the same game, but looks really much better, it cannot get a 10, in my humble opinion.
Like for instance,
on the island by myself.
Dead Space. Dead Space is almost a 1-to-1.
I feel like you can't then give that game a 10, because that's literally treading old ground. Even if it's a shiny new coat of paint, it's still treading old ground. So how are you going to give it like a perfect 10? I don't know. See, but that's me.
I'm a Resident Evil stan, so I would give it a perfect 10.
There you go.
That is who
I'm on
I
an
am.
island by myself. It is what it is. Now, I hope to be wrong. I'll try it. But, not every game is for every gamer, as you're saying. We will play it and we will report back, Boom. No worry.
Well, I mean, listen. Again, this is definitely a different Xbox Factor podcast, because obviously we were down to 2 people. Kay joined us. I had it's a bit of an emergency I had to handle live on the air. Normally it doesn't happen. But I do want to move on to the third topic. We still have half an hour to go. We have 400 people here. Let me
By
just
the
make
way,
sure.
before you do, Boom, I just want to say I think Diablo might be my game of the year right now. I know that.
You know what?
And
And
I feel like
awesome.
a broken freaking record saying that because I keep replacing. It was Hogwarts. Diablo might actually take it for me.
You
Listen,
do realize
I'm right there with
you.
You
Live on Redford. You live on the internet, digital. So at some point when we're at the end of the year, I'm gonna find all of the clips of you saying, "I think X is my game of the year," and just play it back to back, and it keeps changing.
It's because
it'll be awesome.
it keeps changing. It keeps changing to the new hotness. I'm a piece of crap. I can't help
It's
myself.
a good year,
new thing
man.
comes out.
It's a good year.
That's my point. That's my point, K. I'll probably say it again when Redfall comes out, and then I'll say it again when Starfield drops. I don't care. There's no shame in my game. I can change my answers, people. That's fine.
That's right.
Yes. You are allowed to. Let's real quick. Jordan TJ drops a $2 super chat, an additional $2 super chat. Says Doom and Halo crossover. Yes, that would be great. If we do something weird like that, again, it would be great to see something that that Master Chief meeting with Doom guy, or or those two meeting with someone in a power armor. It just needs to happen. We have another one, Dreadpool, good friend of the program, and obviously host of Breaking Bread with Dread, drops a $5 super chat and says, "What about dropping Dreadpool into Halo like ODST with horror?" I like it. I mean, I like what you're putting down there, brother. We definitely need a horror Halo game for sure. Sat Nist drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "I don't want the item Tetris PC interface on console." See, I agree with you there. I see what you're putting down, and I appreciate it. Now, again, folks, tomorrow evening on Primetime Gaming, which of course Asante is going to be a part of, we're going to get into really get into what has been transpiring. What happened today. We're getting numerous reports, and you know what? While we're on the subject, let's just talk about it. Now this guy has exploded on the scene. His name is Florian. He is from @FossPatents on Twitter. He has been a part of the conversation with ABK for quite some time. I said that we weren't going to talk about it, but my DMs have exploded. Yeah. Everyone wants to talk about it. So, I got to give the people what they want. And so for the next 30 minutes, we're going to break down why I think Sony's in big trouble. I think Sony has bitten off more than they can chew. I think that when you look at the consistent lies that have come out of Jim Ryan, to me anyway, as a common sense thinking person, who understands the industry, it almost seems comical. Some would even dare say ironic that the market leader who goes out of their way to make everyone around them smaller so they stay the biggest. It's a very similar bully tactic that we see with Sony. We have a ton of information that was let out by the CMA this morning. One of which was Microsoft's remedy proposal regarding how they would be held to a certain standard in Call of Duty. And this is what Microsoft has proposed, folks. And this is pretty crazy. Microsoft's, according to Florian Muller of FOSS Patents on Twitter, he says Microsoft's remedy proposal to the CMA even envisions this. In serious cases of non-compliance, the adjudicator will have the power to delay the release of the Call of Duty title until appropriate steps have been made or been taken to ensure compliance, thus no release without parity, period. And that's coming from Microsoft. Now, this Asante comes on the heels of one of the most ridiculous things I have ever heard an adult billion-dollar company representative say, when we heard Jim Ryan say publicly that Microsoft will have the ability to release a worse PlayStation version so that their players would then have no confidence in their console and move to Xbox. The fact that a grown man who is the CEO and president of PlayStation would actually say that does fall in line with the stupidity that is Jim Ryan when he went out and told EU regulators, behind closed doors, well, I don't care about a new Call of Duty deal. I just care about blocking your merger. That mentality, if that doesn't literally, like, where are the regulators' common sense factors here? Like, if you are a regulator and you hear this is going on from this person that's representing this brand, and then you hear Microsoft say one of our proposals is to literally stop the release of a Call of Duty, which would cost millions and millions of dollars if parity is not literally to the T. What are your thoughts on this recent report?
Honestly, I think it's all and if there's a tinfoil hat emoji, I'd say put it in the chat, because I think this is all a very, very good plan that they're trying to execute here, because this is not what you think when they say, oh, there's a potential for it to be sabotaged, right? I think it's absolutely ridiculous. What they're doing is, like you said, how is it that these regulators don't know, like don't understand the gaming environment? That's what Sony is banking on right now. They are banking
ignorance
on
is bliss.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've said this before. To some people, right? There's a difference between parity in content and parity in performance, right?
Yep.
And the easiest analogy I can make, I have two glasses here. I have this pitch, this tall one, and this short one, right? And you pour water into each of them. One is taller than the other, so obviously one will fit more than the other, right? What PlayStation is trying to do is make sure that they're both equivalent, even if theirs is the shorter one, right? And the minute you pour more in the other one, they want to be able to use that to say, see, theirs is better, and that's bad, so stop that. Right. That has nothing to do with sabotage. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's the fact that one hardware is capable of doing more, right? And there's a difference between it being capable of doing more, right, versus, oh, ours could do X and we're not making it do that way because we're sabotaging, right? But of course, you have to be deep in the technology to understand that, and no regulator is expected to be a technologist in order to adjudicate this stuff. So they're priming the pump to say, oh, they're gonna release a worse version on PlayStation, and it's gonna make the consumer lose confidence in them, right? What does that mean? To me, that is literally them seeing the tea leaves in saying that, well, when Call of Duty is no longer like beholden to the market leader, they can then use the Xbox the way it was meant to be. They can use the smart features that were meant to be used, and you're going to start seeing at least a 30% difference in performance. That's the thing here. But if you don't know that as a person who deals with technology all the time, when you see one of them has higher performance than the other, you'll go, see, they sabotaged it. No, they didn't. They're just now allowing the other one to get as much water as it can potentially handle, rather than limiting it artificially for you. That's literally what's happening here. That is the long and the short of what's happening here.
The problem is, though, I mean, if this is going to be contractual parity, you're literally going to watch as the PlayStation holds back Xbox.
Well, but there's contractual parity in content.
If it's just content,
parity in hardware, right?
Do we know that? Yes. For sure, though, I guess.
Yes,
okay.
It's not hardware. It's not hardware parity.
Thank God.
It's content parity. That's the reason why you hear Microsoft giving you such a verbose response, saying, "Look, we'll even force ourselves to be delayed if it means getting PlayStation on the right track." That's what they're saying, right?
All right. Thank God.
Because what's happening here is they're trying to use FUD to stop the whole thing, and Microsoft is going, "Look, if that's what you think is happening here, we will insist on delaying our version if it means bringing your version up to speed as well." But that's got nothing to do with the hardware, right?
Okay.
It's because imagine if the deal, exactly the same deal, but it was with Nintendo, Imagine if there was a content or hardware
Right.
parity with Nintendo. Then
That's why we
imagine,
all laugh
right?
about COD coming
Exactly.
there. Like,
Then the PlayStation and the Xbox version would have to be a muddy 720p mess to make
Right.
it equal. No way. That's not how
Right.
it works. Every piece of hardware gets used to its fullest extent. Now, what's happened to what works for Sony in their favor, and I mean, we can go all the way hard in the conspiracy theory section. I think that's the reason why you're hearing them talking about a PS4 Pro. What's happened in their favor is the other side, who has better hardware, does not have better tools. So it's taken a while for them to get up to speed. And now you have Call of Duty potentially, well, all but likely becoming first party for Microsoft. So there is an incentive for Microsoft to let this team really work on this hardware, and you'll start seeing the Series S shine brighter than you ever seen it before. At that point, Sony will need comparable hardware so theirs can also shine brightly. Because otherwise, the disparity will start becoming very quick, very apparent, and they can't afford that. They can't have that be the narrative. Right. So while they're priming the pump and saying, see, regulators, they're going to sabotage us, Microsoft is nipping that in the bud and saying, look, the contractual obligation is to content. And if that's the case, we will literally hold everyone back just to make sure all the content is the same. Doesn't mean the same for hardware, though.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem is going to lie.
You know, and it's funny because I want to add something for more context here for Retri. The CMA released another report 5 hours ago. It says Microsoft's filing on remedies. Quote, the console remedy would equalize Call of Duty content across PlayStation and Xbox, i.e., PlayStation gamers will no longer receive content advantages that the Xbox and PC gamers do not currently receive. So, I mean, Florian wrote, hashtag Sony is anti-parity.
Well, now they're anti-parity because
it suits them to possibly
now they're
block
pro-parity because the reverse was about to happen to them. For years now, they have been, giving the other console short shrift. But the minute that you no longer can control that, you want parity across the board. This is how we're talking about when we say they are like using the ignorance, and I don't mean that in a pejorative sense, but the regulators just do not understand the gaming environment. They do not understand how these contracts have been and how these deals have been being put together for years. We pay attention to the stuff. We watch these shows. We're on these shows, so we know what the movers and shakers do. Right? The regulators do not know that. So, that's why Sony is using that to their best interest, right? That's what they're doing here. But at the end of the day, it's not a hardware clause. Right? So,
I mean, the hardware is the hardware. If Microsoft is going to take advantage of the more powerful Series X, right? There's nothing they can do. Make a better PlayStation, and at that point,
exactly.
On parity in regards to how it runs. I put it this way: if and again, I'm not a technical guy, folks. You know that. I'm not trying to be a D-batch by any stretch of the truth. But if the PlayStation 5 running at 60 frames per second is only able to produce 1440p graphics, and the Xbox Series X running at 50 frames per second is 2160p. What you're saying is that we would have to play at 1440p because PlayStation that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. So Retri, let's get your take on, and again, folks, I know there's a lot of people. Real quick, Brett Bingham drops an additional very generous $2 from Chen, says Xbox Mobile or X Mobile coming in 2024. I promise everyone, please show up tomorrow night on Primetime Gaming. We have two topics, one of which is going to be the announcement or the interview with Phil Spencer, where he talks about Xbox Mobile coming potentially and launching next year. And we're also going to get into the continued tweets and information that are coming out from Post Up, from FOS Patents, from Idle Sloth. Again, this happened very late this morning, and I already had a show written. And I again, if you like my content and you appreciate that work that goes into it, I gotta be able to read all of these things from myself and then jot and write important points, because then that's how these shows are made. I don't like reading from the phone. That's like a big no-no for me. I've done it, and it's incredibly unprofessional.
And tomorrow we have a lot to discuss on that. I have a lot to say, ladies and gentlemen. So come back on Wednesday night and let's talk about it. Yes.
Yeah, we definitely will. We have another one from Brett Bingham that's weird. It didn't show up on YouTube for some reason. Microsoft, just a $5 super chat, and says Hope Microsoft is going to create an app that works as a virtual console on mobile. Wow, dude, that sounds awesome. So you can play Xbox games to your phone, so you can game without cloud. Wow, I
think that's exactly what they're doing. Actually, that's what I assumed they were doing.
Freaking pretty dope if that in fact is the case.
Wow, only mobile games. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Listen, 100%. You know what I mean? I play mobile every day, folks, and I'm a hardcore gamer. I don't know about you. If anyone is still playing Marvel Snap.
I had to get that crack off my back, man. It was too much.
Dude, listen, they get $15 every other month from me, because I buy the season pass for whatever it is. It's Days of Future Past with the X-Men right now. Nice. I love it. I play for hours, and
they got me with Black Panther. I was Catwoman.
Black Panther. Yeah, that was a pretty dope one as well. So I'm a mobile guy. I'm not, that's probably like, there's limitations. I didn't play Diablo Immortal. It looked really good. It actually looked really good. I didn't play that. I do occasionally play like a Subway Surfer, which is kind of like just a runner. It's like
I love
the
runner games. Those are perfect for mobile.
I quite enjoy them. Let's get your hot take on this, Retri.
Sure.
Listen, we all think the deal is going through. But the more that these things come out, folks, like, listen, I'm sorry to say, I think that the EU Commission has already passed this thing. We learned last week that in Microsoft's filings for remedies, which of course is concessions here in the States, remedies in the UK and that in the EU region, there was no mention of remedies for the PlayStation console, which is bonkers. And by all rights should be the case, because we shouldn't worry about Sony. They're making money hand over fist, and the numbers don't lie. But when you hear and you consistently see, Retri, that we're hearing from FOS FOSS patents, we're hearing from Post-Up, we're seeing things put up there by Idle Sloth, and we're getting all of Microsoft's responses to Sony's concerns, it almost seems impossible for the CMA to side with Sony at this point, unless there is corruption or collusion. Right? I'm sorry. Oh, I mean, they just said they would delay their biggest release of the year if some shenanigans went on, and we know that there's not going to be any shenanigans. They're going to get the game the same day. They're going to potentially get it into their ecosystem as normal, and potentially into their streaming system through PlayStation Plus Premium. They're getting everything. I don't understand. To me, and again, this is not being an Xbot, folks. This is being just a rationally thinking person, where Microsoft can't give any more than they're already giving. What are your thoughts on this, Retri?
Well, you know me. I cannot wait till this damn Band-Aid is pulled.
Yeah, rip it right off. Let's go. Yeah.
Sony is just annoying me to the nines at this point. They're getting everything they could possibly want, and still crying about it the entire way down. It's good to see. I'm glad that it's just content, because I actually thought they were talking both content and spec wise, and that I'm glad you guys cleared that up for me, because I kind of took a seat back from this. I've been trying to focus more on, because sometimes this stuff can get to me, and it gets me a little heated because I'm just tired of Sony's BS. So I on my own channel, I've been trying to cover mostly just game stuff and kind of keep it a little bit happy on the up and up. But I mean, we saw a complete pivot. What I said from the very beginning when this thing started is like, why isn't everyone just talking about cloud? This should all be about cloud. This shouldn't be about doing Sony, the market leader, favors by making sure COD stays with them as well. I thought that was complete BS. And here we are, and it's all cloud talk, right? The EU is seems just concerned with that. All of a sudden, all this other stuff we were talking about before just freaking went away. And I was like, okay, well, this makes more sense to me, right? The real thing that Microsoft could be the leader in the forefront was always cloud, right? So it always was weird to me that COD was the talking point. It made no sense to me. Now we're seeing that it's all come back around. And I think maybe what's happened here is the regulators are finally starting to get educated on the truth, seeing that Sony is majority in countries like at 80-20 split in Europe, as long as you take Nintendo out of the equation altogether, which we all know is BS as well. But I think it's the writing's on the wall. I think, like you said, if the CMA does not see it the same way as the EU, then something's up. Like, something's definitely up. I have faith that they're going to come around as well. And I think Microsoft making all these cloud deals, and every deal that anyone who's willing to sign their name on is saying, they're, like we said on this podcast, they're talking the talk and they're walking the walk. They're doing it all, right? They need to make more money. They want to make more money with COD. Why wouldn't they? So I think it's all but over for Sony. I think we're coming down to the end days, and I hope this is done by June so I can get my Diablo for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, think about that. That's actually a big deal. It would be pretty epic if this is announced or gets done before June, before E3 actually happens.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
And one of the big announcements on stage is Diablo. Guess what, folks? Show a new Diablo trailer, the final trailer before the launch. It comes out. Is it late June or is it early June?
I'm trying to remember. I think it might. I think it is late. I think it might be.
So it would be after E3, which you'd probably get
after E3 June.
Yeah, so you'd get your final trailer for it, and the game is going to look like the game is going to look, and everyone's going to be like, wow, I can't wait to play this game in Xbox Game Pass. That's the big, that's the big announcement. That would be actually pretty cool. And again, if it does in fact go into Xbox Game Pass, Mrs. Boom and I will give it the old college effort once again, and maybe we find new love for it. I do think that again, for us who really, really enjoyed 3. And I know there was no camera moving in 3. As someone put that in the chat, we're well aware of that. I just, at least for us, we didn't really appreciate how much of 2 is a part of 4, which I did not like 2. I bought it. I spent the money. I probably should have asked for a refund. I played. I was like, wow, yeah, this is nothing like 3. I don't like.
I literally just installed 2. I bought 2 and installed it right now.
So good on you, brother. You let me know how much you hate it or love it. I'm interested. Actually, Big Mad Mo says Diablo is 6/6/23. Oh shit! Yeah. Well, it actually is before. Wow. Okay. Well, there you go.
Fantastic. Okay. Thanks for correcting.
Thanks for that. So yeah, before E3. Thanks for that, Mo. I definitely appreciate that. But listen,
Kay, I just want to point out that I like Diablo 4 infinitely better than Diablo 2. I don't want you to play 2 and think that 4 is exactly like it.
No. I know that I'm playing a game in the past, right? This was even before 3, so I expected to have that old game jank a bit, right? I just I want to understand where people are coming from, because there's a lot of that 2 to 4 reference. I kind of want to understand. I've never played 2, so
there's a lot of influence for them, quote unquote, returning to their roots, because 2 is very PC heavy, right? Like, it's, even though it's on console, it's a very the PC game
kind of game.
But and 4, at least for me, when I started 4, the debate, I was like, oh man, this is. I'm not going to say anything to Mrs. Boom, because she asked me. She goes, "Is it like 3?" And I'm like, I think so. And then we played it, and she's like, "This is not like 3." I'm like, "Oh
You
man,
lied,
they made changes."
sir.
I know I didn't lie because I didn't know what the beta was going to be. I thought it was going to be more like 3. Like again, this is just schematics. I like 3's. How you looked at your gear it was an reticle. It was a round thing. You moved it to your gear slots, and every little you can move it. This over here is just like it's all thrown on one screen. Boom. So listen, it is what it is. Not every game is for every gamer, and apparently this may not be for me and Mrs. Boom, but hopefully Champions of Norath will come to PlayStation Plus Premium, and we'll be able to play those, which by the way, they still hold up. I saw actually like video of it. I'm like, wow, that actually still looks good. That was PlayStation 2. Go figure. But listen, I want to thank everybody that came out today. I know that some of the topics weren't the greatest of all times. Sometimes you gotta, you gotta talk about what's out there. I know Banjo Kazooie wasn't like the biggest topic, but again, I'm a nerd, so I like that stuff. Hopefully, if you're finding the channel for the first time, I'd ask that you consider subscribing. If you didn't know and you've been asking for it, the merch store has officially been launched 2 Saturdays ago. There are over 10 designs. I'm actually going to real quickly just run the commercial. This was done by Sean LeBrie, who continues to dazzle and amaze. So if you're interested, they're still running the deal where if you go to buy a piece of merch and you type in the code BoomStick in all caps, you will get 15% off. So here it is. Check it out, folks. Tell me what you think. There's Retreat's favorite design, the Xbox Factor Podcast. Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm getting shirts. I'm just not getting that one. I
hear you. That was
I really
actually
like the double barrel gaming one. It's funny. Me and Boom were talking about that, and he's like, be honest with me, which one you like to, And I was like, this one's my least favorite for the show that I'm on. He's like, oh, that's my best selling one. I'm like, well, there you go. Don't listen to me.
I'm getting an Xbox Factor Podcast one. I have one coming. It's in green. It looks cool. I just
appreciate
need V-neck next time.
Yeah. We will definitely add some more stuff to it.
I like the double barrel one. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's again the 2 different double barrels. One is the one that is in the Starfield colors. That's from Ben Kenobi, and the version 2, which is the one that is the black and orange. That's Sean LeBrie, which is awesome. And like I said, again, if there's a specific item that's not there, DM me, let me know, and I can add it. For future, and there are a few other designs in active development. We are bringing back Breakfast with Boom. That is getting a modern remake, if you will, of that design, and the Richter is actually doing that. The one that created the Mr. Boomstick character. But listen, let's get to the outros. K Asante, brother, thanks so much for jumping in. I mean, today was one of those days you woke up, you thought you were going to have a great podcast, and everyone just had things to do. And thankfully, you had time in your day to be here. Talk about the Gaming Circle podcast. You guys have seen some record numbers in regards to live viewers, and that's because it's a testament to the work that you do on your channel. It looks really good, sounds really good when you listen to it. You have a great aesthetics. Talk about it, brother. Sell your brand.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And you know what? It is a testament to you, Boom, and giving me a shot, as you have done in many of us in this community. But now we have a show and we're doing it, and we seem to be hitting our stride in that department.
Well deserved, too.
Actually, thank you. So much so, actually, that the master behind the scenes, Sean LeBrie, is also working with us to really solidify and give us a whole new look. So that's also coming as well. TKO Asante on PlayStation, Xbox, Twitter, all those places you want to find me. And co-host of the Gaming Circle podcast, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Actually, speaking of that, I need to get the audio versions out because I haven't done so. Last week, I should say, we had 2 shows and they need to go on audio services. So I'm going to be putting that out today as well. But come check us out. We have really great guests. Last week, we had the crazy Daniel McGee on with us. He had a great time and his slanderous Nintendo takes, which I appreciate so much. It was really cool. We had him come out and we had a great time on the show as well. We also had like a 4-hour show, so it was a little bananas. He only stayed for half, and then of course Everborn, as he does, likes to bloviate. So it took a little while, but we did a great show, and a lot of people joined us. We've been having great success, and we appreciate you guys for coming to check us out. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate it. And Retri, sell your brand, brother. Talk about Game Pass _daily, your best source for anything and everything that you want to know about Game Pass, on top of some breaking news segments that you've been doing with your YouTube shorts and things. You have a YouTube channel, obviously, and you have yourself Retri on Twitter, but you also have Game Pass _daily on Twitter. Talk about that, where they can subscribe to your channel, but more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Yeah, so Game Pass _daily is my Twitter handle. You guys, what I'm trying to do is put all my video content everywhere. So everything that you see on Twitter, you will see on my YouTube and you'll see on my TikTok. On my YouTube and TikTok is just Game Pass Daily, no underscore, because I was able to get that name. And of course, we got Gamers Council. I dropped a link in the chat. That is me and Web Dave every Sunday at 7 p.m. EST. We've had Kay on there. That was a great conversation. We just had Umbra and we had Daniel McGee on the show as well. And we plan on having Boom and a bunch of other guests as well. We got a long list and some really cool. We're hoping to get some devs on there as well. So yeah, definitely join us. And if you guys want like micro content, I do not make long form content anymore. I decided to just make everything nice and short. That's where you should follow Game Pass Daily. And thank you for having me, Boom, and thank you for coming in, Kay. You definitely helped us fill this podcast out, sir. I love talking with you. And thank you, chat, for coming out and being awesome and just having a great conversation and a good time with us. That's what this is all about, man. Having a good time. So let's do it.
Yeah, we'll definitely appreciate that. And of course, shout out to Lethal Papa, Boss Mod.
Yes.
Papa. He actually, and of course, I show you the commercial, and of course, like a knucklehead, I don't.
You give him a tease, but you can't find the material.
You can't buy the stuff. Right now, if you want, I just dropped the link into the channel. If you go to my Twitter account, it is pinned. The commercial is pinned, as well as the link to the Teespring account. Teespring has been fantastic with us, and they've helped us out tremendously. And again, I didn't know anything about launching a merch store, and well, here we are 2 weeks later, and we've sold over 20 shirts, which is really freaking cool.
Nice.
But listen, folks, again, thank you so much for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. We would not be at 12K plus or 4 million plus views if it wasn't for the fact that you folks keep coming back and enjoying the content that I put out 5 days a week. I'm glad that you are also supporting all of the incredible and talented content creators that are on the panels, that are here each and every week. Because obviously I'm not up to the Greg Miller status of Kind of Funny Games where I can actually pay people. So the best thing I can offer is engagement with others. But thank you for supporting everybody. And of course, a big shout out to all the super chats that came in today. They really do help. And they believe it or not, a lot of the super chats that came in early this year already have been used for the channel rebirth, if you will. All of the intros match the overlays, and the overlays match the thumbnails, and it costs money to get this stuff done. It's money I don't have to spare. So your super chats and your channel memberships help more than you know. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.